Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Deployed Engineer channel. Today we have Sushant Srinivasan on our pod. And Sushant and I met at a Y Combinator hackathon. Like it was later last year, and Sushant and I networked. We had a good connection in San Francisco at the Y Combinator office. And Sushant had a very interesting project. He was expressing like a lot of things he had done. And most recently, Sushant is a machine learning and AI engineer at Autonomous Machining, currently in Seattle, Washington. And Sushaanth has over 5 years of experience in this space. He has a master's from UCSD, and he has a lot of insights and advice and general sharings he has about how the general state of things are. A lot of opinions on large language models. Sushanth is training OCR models at Autonomous Machining. So it'll be really interesting to understand how Sushant thinks about this. And yeah, welcome to the pod, Sushant.
Thank you so much. It's great being here. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the great intro. That was really nice.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. So yeah, tell me about yourself. Like, how did you break into machine learning and AI, and what are some of the things you're currently doing in connection to that, and what's your niche in this space, so to speak?
Yeah, sure. Did my 11th and 12th grade in my bio group, not computer science, actually during school. Like when I joined the first year, I just knew like basic like Python, and then in the first lab, I was like, how do you exchange two variables? So like I was in like that kind of situation, and then like now I'm here. That was a great journey, I think. I was interested in like ML and AI for a while. But I started learning based on the advice of my friend. So like I want to shout out my friend Srijit here. Um, Let me know about the course on Coursera. The deep learning course are by like Andrew NG on like deeplearn.ai on Coursera. That was the course I took, and then that was really nice. It taught the foundations for like machine learning, and like that was really great. So that's how I entered into the space. I was very interested in like computer vision, CNNs, and like all that stuff. Like, that was like really interesting to me. And once like ChatGPT was out, like Gen AI was like really good too. So like I was trying out combinations of like computer vision and VLLMs and LLMs and all that stuff. So yeah, like that's my intro to AI basically.
Oh, that's super cool. So one of the questions I've had for a while in this space is a lot of learnings that people had. People used to train, let's say, models on maybe recognizing cats only, like these very specific things people would train certain models on and neural nets. Do you think that a lot of it is thrown out of the window when it comes to AIs becoming APIs now and being able to just send like ChatGPT or any other API, like any other LLM model, this simple image and get it to recognize, and it's going to do way better. So, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think it is becoming slightly redundant when you have these types of advanced models, but like those smaller models still come into play on edge computing and low memory devices, right? Where you can run only, like, let's say you have only a Raspberry Pi or like a small chip, right? Where you have to need that functionality, right? Like at that case, you can't like run a 32 billion parameter LLM or a VLM on that and and make it work, right? So yeah, I think still like those cases, it is still like useful, but then like other cases, I think like advanced models do a pretty good job for that.
Okay, that's interesting. How are you like currently doing? How does your work look like? What do you do? Do you do like some hardcore machine learning stuff where you're cleaning data, training the models, and what is the process like?
Like I do a bunch of things actually. So like I do a lot of things. Like I do both front end and back end. So like I'm also on the product side. I like also do like Gen AI stuff, like AI agents and RAG, like those kind of like stacks as well. And I also do like core ML. So it's like I do like a bunch of things. Uh, Core ML, like right now I'm training OCR models right now. And on the Gen AI side, I'm currently like implementing multiple RAGs. So yeah, that's how it's. going right now. The work's very interesting. Yeah.
That's interesting. Let's say I want to learn how to train an OCR model. Where does
Okay.
my journey start from? Where do I go? What do I learn? What's the timeline like? And how do I get to that state? Just generally speaking.
Yeah, okay. So I think we first need to know like what an OCR model is, right? So like anyone has an approximate data. So like you send in an image or a PDF and then you like output a bunch of text which is on the PDF. But it's a black box and I need to know like what's happening inside, right? So like most like OCR models are just a combination of two models. So it has a recognizer and a detector. So it first detects where the text is and then it uh, tries to read the text from that image, right? So, like these kind of things, you'll so when you get started, you would have to like learn all this first. And like right now with the GPT and all that stuff, you can just ask AI, and then you'll have all the info in your hand, right? My approach to generally learning something is not a tutorial. So I don't go and like learn. Like I don't go to like YouTube videos and I see okay. So so let's say I wanna train a model. I don't go and learn that like how to train like a CNN or like all that stuff, right? So like those are the basics. But once you know the basics for like niche stuff like this, what I usually do is I just learn what is required for that particular thing, and like as I learn it, I like figure it out we run into a bunch of errors, right? So let's say I train a model, I have an error, and I'm like, okay, like why is this error appearing, right? I ask AI or Google all this stuff, and oh, okay, like I didn't know like this thing was actually like um uh being considered in this model. So so like as and when you go inside and deeper, you would like learn more about these things. So like that's how I would approach learning such a problem. And as for the timeline, I think while like learning, I don't think like having a timeline is like a very good thing because I create like sort of like anxiety. Okay, like I have to learn this by this time, and like so. I think learning should be free, but when you're like learning all the fly, like on the job, right? So like when you're doing purely learning, I think it's fine. But like when you like work on the job, I think the deadline actually helps because it would be more of okay, just like focus on what you need to get this done, right? So, yeah, that's what I would say about that.
Cool. I'm in an AI engineering role, and I'm learning a lot about machine learning. One of the things that I have been thinking about is what a lot of companies are currently using the APIs from this major large language model providers for very many things. There's new
Yeah,
upcoming models, and AI models are almost becoming a commodity. I suspect they will become a commodity in the future. I don't know. Is that the same opinion you hold?
I think yes. So I think right now capital is everything. So like right now, people and companies find ways to like capitalize on any existing trend. So like right now, like AI is the trend. So like I would say like yeah, it is happening. And like I am kind of surprised that most AIs don't have ads yet. I'm actually happy about that, but I hope like it doesn't change in the future. But if it happens, I won't be surprised.
Interesting. How does one decide if they would want to fine tune a model to their needs? There's ability of the models, and there's also the idea that you can fine tune one for your own company. How do you make a decision? Let's say you were a tech lead, you had to make a judgment that this time we fine
Mhm.
tune this or not. How do you judge that?
So for the data which we currently have, I would just test like existing models, right? And if the output is like good enough, then I don't need to fine tune it at all. But let's say the like output is like, really bad, then I have to fine tune it for my specific like data or company specific data, right? So I think like that's how I would like approach the decision. But there's also like other variables to consider here, like how much time do you have, how much compute do you have, and all that stuff, right? So let's say you have like 85% of accuracy like without fine tuning and like 87 with fine tuning. So like why um you don't you tried fine tuning once and then you can see the results, right? And then so for the future we probably won't fine tune because it's like a waste of our time and compute if the ROI is small. But yeah, otherwise I would say the main factor is just how the model performs on the company specific data. So like if it's uh worse, then you fine tune it, and if it's pretty good, then the decision is already made for you. So yeah.
How do you decide that? Do you do evals from the get go and then use the evals, or are there other methods that people use to do that?
So what I do is I have a bunch of my own evals. So like I kind of do like a mini research on like what evals are the best for the project I'm working on, and then I would try to write the evals myself, or if there's like a pre-built like library for that, I would like use that too. So I based on those evals, I like evaluate whether I need to like fine tune it or not. Let's just say like I use certain metrics and the model still turned out to be bad. There's some problem with the metric, so the metric I chose isn't the correct metric, right? So like at the same time, I would also like check the metrics as well as check the actual output with my eyes. So like I'll just make sure it's like working good. So like sometimes if you choose the wrong eval, it'll feel like it's working well, but the reality is it might not be, right? So I'll just make sure to like cover that on both fronts. So yeah.
Interesting. What are some models which are really good for what's the best open source model in your opinion that is more general purpose and very easy to fine tune for a lot of enterprise use cases?
So the open source fine tuning, it depends on the model. So like, are you talking about like LLMs or VLMs or like what are you talking
Yes,
about?
mostly large language models.
Okay, I feel like Llama and Quen are pretty good, but like, to be honest, I don't have like much experience fine tuning open source LLMs themselves. So like, I don't want to. I don't have a really strong opinion on that. Yeah. But I have fine tuned like segmentation models and OCR models and stable diffusion and stuff like that. So yeah, like I can like talk about those, but yeah, like about LLMs, I don't have a strong opinion on like which is the best one. Yeah.
Yeah, but sure, you could go ahead and tell us more about the those specific segments as well.
Oh, cool. So for our segmentation models, right? So like I worked on an interesting project where it was my idea where we like, create like a web app, right? Where you just like edit images only using text. So like let's just say you have images with like a bunch of cats in it, and then type a text prompt saying uh, replace the cat with the dog, right? So, like in that case, what I do is I would segment out the cats from the image, and then based on the empty space, I would like in paint it with stable diffusion. So for that, I'd fine tune the segmentation models. And the best one, this was 1 year ago, I think. So I think the best model at like that time was the like segment anything model by like Meta. So I think like Meta released it. It's called segment anything model. And it gives you like areas of the image where objects are. So like that was really good. And then on top of that, I also used this model called grounding dino. So like that was like a bounding box detection model. So like what I did is I first got the bounding boxes of the images one need to change, and then I applied segment anything a model inside those bounding boxes, and then in painted them. So yeah, as far as like, segmentation is concerned, I think grounding dino and like segment anything are the best at like that point in time. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, and just a segue into like how you're doing
Yeah.
some of your development and building your projects. How are you doing it currently? What's your workflow like? What are some tools that you think you found to be really cool that you'd like to share with the people viewing?
I can't stress this enough, but like Cloud Code, like Cloud Code is just like really good. So like I was using Cursor Pro, and that was great as well. But I think Claude like, fits more with my kind of like workflow, and the Opus model is just like overpowered. It's like really good. So what I do is I use the plan mode. I enter my requirements in like plan mode, and like I just explain to it what I want, and I just attach the specific files, and then I make it give me a plan. So once it gives me a plan, I would like iterate on the plan. So I would say this part is good, but this part is like change it to be this and stuff like that, right? And then once the plan is like set, I'll manually like accept the edits, and then it will make a to do list as well. So then it will just go through each of the to dos, and then it will fix them. So yeah, I feel it's like really good, except especially with the context. So the first time I used it, like I didn't know how to give it the proper context. Like it was just it was great then too, but like once I figured out how to loop in the context from like multiple scenarios and stuff, like I felt it's just like overpowered.
That's cool. Have you bumped into instances where it doesn't do specific things well, like maybe use a different programming language, or maybe you tried to do something and it just couldn't do it and you had to do it, or mostly it's done everything you wanted it to do?
It does most of the work, but like sometimes it like acts pretty dumb. I'm not sure why that is, but like sometimes the model is so dumb, like I'll just feel okay, instead of using that, I can just code it like faster myself. But most of the times it worked pretty well. And as I mentioned before, like looping in the context is especially very important, right? Just throwing a quick example here. For the OCR models I was training, right? I had multiple versions of data sets, multiple versions of models, and then multiple versions of uh, vocab or like dictionaries. And thing is, they're not the same number. Model version 5 can be trained on data version 3 and can use vocab version 4, stuff like this, right? So for the first like 2 3 models, I was just like there's just so many versions everywhere, right? And then what it was, I just opened a text file called like OCR context, and then like until then whatever context I had, I like wrote it down. So I said, okay, so here's the model version. This model uses config version this, uses data version this, vocab version this, all that stuff, or training command, inference command, data generation command, all that stuff, right? And once I had all that in, and I was like working with Claude, tagged in the context file, and I said, once you train the new model, update the context with the new model you trained. After training the model, it lagged. Okay, so like the new model is like version 6. Version 6 uses this data and then this config and stuff like that. So like all that was like saved in the file. And then what I do is let's just say I'm working on model 6, but for some reason I just want to try out model 3 again, right? But the command will be changed, the code will be changed, all that stuff. So then all I need to go is like I'll just go to Claude, I'll just tag in the file, and I'll say it will modify the command appropriately and then like run it in the terminal automatically. So like looping in context is like a game changer. So yeah, that's
Wow.
really good.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see how you can use like these models even on such workflows other than building web apps, which most people are anyways doing.
Yeah.
Interesting. How are you training these OCR models? Do you have GPUs or do you like rent them on the cloud and you're running? How are you training them?
I right now I'm training them locally. I have my work laptop has a Ada 2000 GPU, so it's pretty good for like most fine tuning purposes. If the model is 2 hours, and it'll probably go for a cloud like training. But yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's good. One other insight that I've wanted from engineers is what do you think that will happen in the next 5 years in this space? You're more on the data science, machine learning, and you have a lot of ideas on both aspects of how the software development is now becoming like a whole AI engineering thing and
Yeah.
gradually and machine learning is also merging in instances where the old ways of doing machine learning were no longer that useful. So you have this sort of merge and then you have things on the edge where you have programmers who are extremely good at maybe writing C, which will now be replaced, and extremely good at maybe doing machine learning, and everyone else comes in the middle, right? That's my
Mm.
opinion in the sense, and it's gonna get a bigger and bigger. What's your take on this?
So like I think the focus on like software engineers is now more on the like architecting aspect of it uh, rather than the coding aspect of it, right? Because the main coding can be done by AI. So I just need to like architect it well. So I think the most important thing now is to like learn the basics, knowing how review the code like given by AI and architecting it all together. So like I think uh, rather than like pure like software engineers, you would now have more of like a sales engineer or like more of um, combination of roles. Where the software engineering is like one part of it, but you also have stuff like marketing engineer, GTM and stuff like that. And especially with, like AI, like GTM is like great because the product is like a hard part, and then scaling it and launching is like another hard part. But like now the like launching the development part is like way easier now. GTM is getting more and more important, and like, yeah, I think more software engineers would like migrate more towards like software architects or like GTM kind of engineers, you know. So like I think like that's what's going to happen in the next 5 years.
Cool. I think that's a lot of sentiment is going, like a lot of people are in the same sort of thought space when they're thinking about the way things will work. So yeah, that kind of helps. Engineers will be more connected to the business objectives than like
Yeah.
the technical objectives that they used to do, which is kind of making sense at this point. Yeah. What was that aha moment when you thought like I need to break in? Because a lot of folks are still in the space where they're thinking that this is a bubble and this is a hype. I do feel as an engineer that I've felt the impact. Still a set of people who think that this is still a hype and you should be writing code with your hand and it's gonna die out. Like, what's your take on it?
So I think AI is being a bit hyped, but I think the impact still exists. So for like any trend, there's this a famous graph you have, right? So it just starts at this, it just goes up and then like goes down and then flattens out, right? So I think like we are at that point like near the top. I think so. Like people say, they like, overblow like AI expectations, and then they like expect like too much from it, and because of that the trough will happen, but at the end it'll like even out, so the like impact is like still there. I would say the handwritten code is still good, but at this point in time we also need to focus on the like time it takes to get it working, right? Time is of the essence, because you're in a space with a lot of competition. So like the first to market or best to market, so you need to be at least one of these, right? Best to market is very hard, so the first to market is easier. So when that is easier, more companies should try for that, I feel. So yeah, I think hand coding still has its place, but like I think it would get I think it will be like a kind of like a luxury kind of a service, you know. For example, right, let's say you have machine manufactured knives, and you have like a handcrafted knife, right? A handcrafted knife is going to cost more, it's going to take a lot more time to craft. But if you want a knife immediately, you can go for like a machine manufactured one, right? So I would say it's like a luxury kind of a thing. Some people can take pride in saying they're like their code is handmade, you know, but um, that's a separate space for it, and like I think like there's a separate space for that as well. So like I think there's like room for both of these schools of thought.
Very, very interesting take on it. I like that analogy of handcrafted versus
Yeah.
using this. It's very insightful actually, because I read a history book that was saying that watchmakers, I think before the Industrial Revolution, it was a very niche thing. If you owned a watch, you were rich because you needed to hire a person to manually make up
Yeah.
that watch. Post that, the watchmakers were still relevant. However, the numbers shrank, but everyone could now afford a watch. That was the other thing,
Yeah.
and which was another interesting phenomenon that ties to what you said. So I like
Oh,
that.
that's nice. Yeah.
What do you have to tell people who are graduating? You're just graduating and you know how the market is in terms of people looking for opportunities, and there's a lot of like AI causing issues. How would you position yourself, for instance, if you're being strategic today to optimize your chances to get an opportunity at this point?
Yeah, I think it's a very important and useful question. So, you can split this into like two things, right? So, like one are the knowledge of like how you present yourself, your skills, and then the second part would be how you like apply to jobs, right? As for the knowledge part, I feel like AI is great. I feel interviews should allow AI. So, like that's what I would do. Uh, when like learning the foundations, believe that the foundation should not be like students should not like rely on AI for the foundation itself. So they need to know the foundations, and to build on top of that they can use AI. So that's what I would say for the first part. Like for the second part, what I would say is the main thing to know is to reduce competition in your playing field, right? So that's the most important thing. So let's say you're uh, applying on LinkedIn, like million people are applying on LinkedIn. So like how will you stand out, right? The like easiest way to like so multiple ways to stand out, right? So either your profile should be like really good, or have a product which so many users use, or at this point, win grants and prizes and stuff, right? That's hard though. The easy part is to change the playing field altogether, right? So like if you're applying through LinkedIn or competing with a million people, but like let's just say you send a cold email to someone or you send a cold DM to someone, right? Not a lot of people send cold emails. Not a lot of people do cold DM. So like I'm not saying it's like a silver bullet and it like works 100% of the time. But what I'm saying is it like reduce the competition when compared to applying on like LinkedIn, right? So out of there's less competition, you just try to operate there is basically putting yourself in a chance to get more lucky. So luck is the same on LinkedIn as well as cold DMs, but you have more chance of getting lucky when you send cold emails or like cold DMs, right? So yeah, that's what I would say is like my like advice for that. I know the market is very hard and like there's no one advice which will solve everything, but I think like this will help a bit for navigating the current job market.
Oh, yeah, thanks for that. I think that'll be very helpful to folks who are breaking out of university and they're trying to look for a job and they're having some trouble finding it. They could position themselves accordingly and make these attempts, and
Yeah.
hopefully they're able to score the opportunities.
Yeah.
And besides that, what are some of the resources that you follow maybe daily or weekly that help you keep up with the current state of changes in your industry, in the type of work you're doing, for instance?
So I would say like Reddit is a very good source. So Reddit is basically like opinions of people, right? So like you can't take the information all like you just have to analyze it yourself, but the links to the actual like software or the actual uh, uh, update would be in there, right? So like when you see stuff on Reddit, like whenever like anything new is released, like there's like a whole song of Reddit posts which say like I just tried this happened, all this stuff, right? So like relevant like subreddits are pretty good for that. And I would say like newsletters are also good as well. Multiple newsletters are there. So that like all the off the top of my head, I don't like, remember the names as much. There are good ones which people can follow, and then like LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn's also filled with like other stuff. So it's depending on like who you follow and stuff, the feed will get better for LinkedIn. And then I think the main thing is exposure, right? So the more you get like exposed to different things, the more knowledgeable you are. So like reading books, reading articles, blogs from companies like Anthropic and stuff like that. And I think like last week, Thinking Machines Lab released like an article on like how to reduce like how to improve determinism in LLMs. So like I found that like really interesting. So like those kind of blog posts are a really good source of information too. So yeah, that's what I would say.
That's awesome. Thinking Machine is the company that the Mira, who was the
Yeah,
CTO of
yeah.
OpenAI, started, right? What was like a good takeaway from that? Like if you were to do a TL.
The main thing in the article is that the like LLM itself is may or may not be like, responsible for the non-determinism, but it's more about the inference pipeline which is used for the LLM, right? So when you give the LLM a prompt, temperature metric and the top underscore piece, like those two are the metrics which you would use to control deterministic results, right? So like even if like those both are set to like 0 and 1, the inference pipeline can like make it like non-deterministic. So that was one takeaway. So I think you have to look at everything right now, the systems kind of a perspective. So it's not like just the LLM, it's more about like how it runs on the cloud, how the inference happens, how the request is being sent, how is it being scaled, and all that stuff, right? So, like, I think a systems perspective is that would be, I think, like one of the takeaways which you have to have for that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's interesting takeaway. Because from how I understood, it's like when you change the temperature and top P, you can sort of change how imaginative the model is and how deterministic it is based on that. And 0.7 is typically the average. Do
Yeah.
you happen to know why they chose 0.7? I'm curious. I never thought about it, but it's just something that just popped up.
Yeah, 0.7 is a bit of an interesting number. I'm not really sure about that, but it might be like something to do with the training data or yeah, but like how the model trains on it, I think. But yeah,
Okay.
I think it's just speculation, like from my end. So like I don't exactly know the answer, but I'm gonna make sure I find out after this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm honestly going to find out about it as well because it just popped up in my head when you mentioned it. So it's that's cool. Is there any other thing you'd like to share on the pod that you were thinking about or something that interesting that you kind of want to share?
Yeah, just generally, I would say about mindsets. I think the contrarian mindset helps a lot. Just because like someone says that something is good, like doesn't mean it is. So like try it out for yourself and see. You know what I mean? So, I think like that helps me in a lot of areas, right? So, for example, right, we had an issue at our one of our ads, right, where we had to do like OCR for a big image versus a small image, right? So the model we trained worked on big images with multiple text in them, but it didn't work on small text. So it's like if you have a big image with multiple text in the middle, and you have like a small image with just one big text, right? The model wasn't able to so it is working well for the big image, but not the small image, right? So like in that case, a useful thing would be to retrain the model on small images or train like another model for small images. But the deadline was there. So like I was just thinking, okay, let's find a way to not do that. Okay, so that's a standard thing you do. So I was like, okay, let's try to do something which um doesn't involve that. And then the fix was like so simple. So the idea is basically you have the small image, right? Create a big image, just take the small text and just like paste it in the middle, and then you send to the model. So the model thinks the whole image is big, and then the small text is extracted. So it works. So instead of just training like another huge model, I just like did this. Uh, on the long run, a new trained model might be better. It still helps to think in a different way to resolve problems. So yeah, and it also helps with like other areas of like life to like not just tech and like coding too.
Yeah, that's super interesting because a lot of times engineers particularly go into this rabbit hole that and because you have the tools, you have a hammer, you want everything, you see everything as a nail, so you want to use that ability. But sometimes stepping back to just think about it a little bit differently, you realize that simpler solutions work as well.
Yeah,
When you try them, you're like, okay, like it actually still works. So that was a prime example that you gave.
yeah. There was a great analogy. I think it's like breaking an egg with like a bulldozer versus like a hammer, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I think we're toward the end of the pod. Typically, we get folks to, if people have a question for the next guest, sort of, do you have any? Then you're free to ask, and I'll pass it on. Do you have any interesting questions for somebody who's going to come on this pod?
Let me think. Okay. I'm sorry. I have sort of an interesting question. So like it's something which I thought about a bit, but like not a lot. So have you heard of the Kardashev scale for like civilization types?
Oh, I have not heard about it. Maybe you can tell me more about it.
So the Kardashev scale is like a scale which you can give to like civilizations based on how much power they can harness from natural resources, right? Let's say a civilization can harness the whole power of its planet, then it will be like type 1 civilization. If it's able to harness the whole star in the solar system, it would be like type 2, and then the whole like galaxy will be type 3. Humanity is right now in like 0.73 on the scale. So we haven't reached 1 yet. When we reach 1, we'll be able to control everything on Earth, right? So like right now we are on 0.73. My question would be, what should what domain should the next set of engineers focus on to uh, make us progress to type 1 faster? So like AI will help us a lot with that, but you also need domain knowledge in other domains, right? So AI is a silo, and then let's say weather control, so meteorology is a silo. So these two have to kind of merge together, right? So what kind of like domain should like AI engineers focus on so that we can progress faster to type 1, basically.
Wow, that's a big one. And actually got me thinking. That's very interesting. Yeah. And I think you're right. With the AI, like we could do more in different spheres, and because we'll automate the boring parts and we'll be able to focus on bigger questions, like, and that would be a good one to ask the next person. Let's see what they have to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the end of the pod. Sushant, thanks for coming. We'll connect again. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. It was great.